What's up, orphans and long-lost children? This is Phantology. Ben, Josh, and Steven on hand to review Changes, Dresden Files, Book 12 by Jim Butcher. We've been trying to get this one out for a while, actually, and it's happening, and we're excited to get it out to you. So, Ben and Josh, I know we've hyped this one up pretty much in every Dresden episode. Josh says something to Ben like, oh, just wait till Changes, because Ben is reading through for the first time, and Josh and I have read the series. So now that it's finally happened, like, what are our gut reactions towards the book?
Well, listen, if you follow along Discord, you'll know that I had some things to say about it. And I think I came across a little bit too negatively on Discord. Like, I highlighted the things I didn't like instead of highlighting the things I really did like. And so my gut reaction was that it was a fantastic story. I loved the character development. I loved all the action. And I thought it was you guys overhyped it a little bit in the fact that we didn't have any of who I would classify like the main characters die, which I was preparing myself for a main character to die.
Okay, man, if you're gonna say it's overrated, just say it. If you're gonna say it's overrated, just say it, Ben.
I'm not saying it was overrated. I'm saying it was overhyped. There's a difference.
Okay, so first of all, we're not doing a no spoiler section of this, right? We're just if we're gonna talk about this, we're gonna talk about it.
Okay, so before we do spoilers, with a brief no spoiler section, we're now gonna start talking spoilers. Before we do so, if you like Phantology, check us out at Phantology Books on social media at www.phantologybooks.com. Interact with us on Twitter, Discord, wherever. We'd love to have your voice in the community, which is growing and which is exciting. And we need more Dresden experts. We have a couple now, actually, who are always happy to tell us what we missed and what we need to do better. We're just fans. We're not experts on the series.
But we appreciate it when you come in and
we really do.
Certainly. Yeah, definitely. It helps us all.
Even when I have to admit I'm wrong, I appreciate it. So yeah, we're good. And I think we've actually had a few people have very strong opinions on this, so we might incorporate some of those comments. So if you've been active on Discord and we reference some of the discussions we found in Discord, I hope that you're okay with that. So yeah.
Okay, so that said, we're doing spoilers now. So if you haven't read Changes yet, you probably want to stop listening because a lot changes in the book.
So I guess who's going to say the big spoiler at the end?
Okay, well, I just want to know why you can say that no main characters died when our literal viewpoint character dies.
Josh, does Harry Potter die?
Yeah, well,
exactly.
Harry dies for a chapter.
Briefly.
That's why I can say that.
Briefly.
Come on, Harry Potter dies for a chapter. Harry Dresden dies. At the end of Changes, he's dead, man.
He's not dead. He's walking towards some light. That doesn't mean he's dead.
And he gets shot in the chest. The blood is pooling out of his chest. Chest is not an area that you can take a shot like a shoulder or a leg. And he falls into Lake Michigan. He's dead.
He's dead. Listen, Harry dies at the ending of Changes. So you are wrong with saying that no main characters die.
Okay, fine. But for all intents and purposes, he doesn't die, though, because he's also the main viewpoint character of the next book. So it's not like there's death. So
wherein he is dead.
That's fine. All I'm saying is that as a reader, you care about who you're reading about and where you're reading it from and whose voice that is. And that doesn't change.
So you don't care that Harry dies. That's not a large change to you.
No, it would be like a similar change to him becoming the White Knight. You know what I mean? Like I bet that's going to affect him, or Winter's Court Night or whatever.
The Winter Knight.
The Winter Knight, yeah. It's a change, and it's going to affect his character, but it's not like this. It's not like Murphy died permanently, and we don't get to read about Murphy anymore. Like, that was the type of like impact I was expecting to happen. An impact where you suddenly change planes of existence, and we all know that change probably isn't going to be permanent. That's not that big of a impact.
Well, come on, man. He loses his apartment. He loses his car. He loses his staff. Like, everything that you're used to him having everything that makes Dresden Files what it is in the first 11 books is ripped away from him, and becoming the Winter Knight is a huge deal because it's going to change his very nature. And he also gets paralyzed, like his back is broken, and he's able to, get over that as the Winter Knight. But if he doesn't have that mantle, like his mortal body is broken. So like I can't really think of too much more that could actually have changed for him.
Like I said, my criteria for this is Jim Butcher took a red marker and put it through a name that we've been reading about and a character that we've been loving for the past 11 books. And that did not happen. So when you say you can't think of anything more, that's something that could have happened. You could have X Thomas, you could have X Murphy, you could have X Molly, but he didn't.
Well, it's not Game of Thrones, right? It's not Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah, but there's also a pretty big cast of characters that are awesome to read about that aren't essential for the plot. I'm just saying what I was expecting to happen, I guess, didn't happen. That's not to say a lot of great things didn't happen, but I'm just saying that the amount of changes that actually occurred in the book weren't like
there were a lot of changes that occurred in the book, just not the one that you wanted to have happen.
Okay, that's fair. But what I'm saying is like,
yeah.
I mean, come on, man. People's houses burn down. People get in car accidents. Like,
yeah,
these are things.
If any one of these things that happened in this book happened to you in your life, that would be like a life-changing event. If your house burnt down, that would be a life-changing event. If you break your back, that's a life-changing event. If you have to kill your freaking lover, that's a life-changing event. If you have a daughter, that's a life-changing event.
Okay, whatever. I guess what's the point of this argument? I guess a lot of things happened to change the story, but no main characters were killed permanently. Okay,
I think we've established that Ben is very bloodthirsty. I think that's where we've landed.
There's no red wedding in this one. Okay, so
I mean, I see your point. So you were thinking it'd be more of like a complete. There'd be maybe more like emotions involved in the changes more than just like, okay, the plot is advancing and that's cool because things are different now, but maybe like you weren't emotionally shocked quite as much.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, I think I made this comparison on Discord. To me, it felt like a season finale where, like, okay, next season is going to be different, but you also know that the cast of characters is going to be there and dealing with the fallout, right? So, like, yeah, it was a big deal, but like, also, I mean, after 12 books, you expect some things to have happened that are gonna like, drastically affect Harry. So I don't know.
So all I'm saying is, let's look at Harry now at the end of changes. Let's look at him at book 1. What's happened? He's had Thomas added to his life, like completely, right?
Yeah,
that's a huge change. He's had
Molly
added to his life. He's had
his relationship with Murphy has grown.
Yeah.
That's developed a lot. He is now the Winter Knight. He is now no longer has like the Doom of Damocles, or is that back on him? What's the status of that?
The Doom of Damocles is always on him, like as long as he's training Molly, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
He just has the Doom squared right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he no longer like has his business anymore because it's been destroyed. He no longer has his car. Like, there's just been a lot that's changed.
Plus, I think we're understating the fact that he does die, and sure, like he'll come back in another plane of existence and Ghost Story. I mean, I think just the fact that there's a 13th book is alerting you to the fact that something's going on, but that's a huge question mark. That could go in a lot of different directions.
Yeah. That's true.
And if you're just reading this as it came out and not binging it, it would be a way bigger impact, I think, than just seeing, okay, the next book is called Ghost Story. Now I kind of know what direction this is heading in.
Sure. But like, also as an author, you have to know that people, like most of the people that read the book are going to not be reading it as they come out, I guess. Like, you have to kind of plan for that in your writing, right? Like,
yeah, that's tough to do, man. I feel like your writing is.
No, who are you writing it for? You're writing it for your fans. Like,
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you can't expect people to be like waiting on the edge of their seats when they know that they're getting a 13th book.
well, there's I mean, this has a lot to do with the current state of the Dresden verse between peace talks and
Battleground.
battleground. You know, like, not to, go listen to our episode for our full thoughts on this, but generally a lot about what happens in battleground is going to determine how good peace talks really was.
Right.
Yeah, so
Okay. Yeah, and yeah. So I think we should go through the plot beats at this point because there's a lot to say about a lot of things that happened in this book. So I think we've kind of had our 10,000 foot overview of the book. So
and I'll just say my take on changes is, you've had 11 books that's established everything, and they're books that are more, we always describe it as fun to romp through Chicago, and they're more one-off, and like a plot is starting to happen. But after changes, it's not just changes for Harry, it's changes for the entire series. Like, the series is no longer the fun one-off detective urban fantasy. Now it's become more of an epic fantasy, almost, in terms of like, okay, the plot is really evolving, and we're getting towards this apocalypse that Butcher wants to have at the end of the series. And I don't think that's possible unless you have a book like Changes that totally just changes the tone of where the series is going.
yeah,
It's essentially halfway through. It's like the halfway mark of the series, because he wants to write 20 books and then have the 3-book finale. So you've got 11 books, you've got Changes, and then you've got 11 more books. So yeah, it's halfway.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was for sure a change, even like with what Harry is willing to do. Like that's big, So
Yeah.
Okay, so Steven, how does this book start? What happens at the very beginning?
So as you know, at the very beginning, Harry gets the bomb dropped on him from Susan that he has a daughter. He has an 8-year-old daughter that was the product of their last tryst back in the day before Susan ran off with the whole Red Court thing, tragically. And Harry's pretty upset, understandably. He hasn't been clued in on this until now, and now it's important because she's been kidnapped and Susan needs his help. But like, why was Harry not a part of this before? That's rough on him. And I know that I think you guys kind of had some thoughts on the whole daughter plotline thing. Like, did we like this?
I mean, again, I did not like that motivation at all. I think that this was the weakest point of the book for me. There's a few reasons why I didn't like it. Well, I didn't like it because I felt like it was a way to give Harry wrong motivations, right? Like, so at least like, with Turncoat, the previous book, like he was motivated by solving Morgan's mystery. And even that had more relevance to Harry. Like it had more reason for existence than this did. Like this was just like, we need a way for Harry to like be willing to sacrifice his set of morals that he's developed the past 11 books. And we're going to say that it's this 8-year-old girl that is his daughter. I don't know. It felt very flimsy to me.
I don't know why it's a problem that he has a daughter. It's just a new thing in his life.
It's blatantly put there for plot reasons, though. That's why
it was you look back at the time that he and Susan had sex, and like go back and read that chapter, and you can tell like he makes it very clear that like there's probably going to be a pregnancy that comes from this. Especially with how little like sex is shown like actually on screen in Dresden Files. Like this is a pretty big foreshadow.
Okay.
And now that Harry's a dad, I mean, that just adds another element to his character. I don't think it's a problem. Sure, maybe it's used a little bit to advance the plot, but is that a problem?
Okay. I'll also say maybe it was foreshadowed. I've asked a few times on Discord, and nobody's been able to show me a place other than that scene that foreshadowed it. And it always makes a big deal that like Harry's a wizard and dealing with the primordial forces of the universe. And so like, shouldn't that shouldn't there be some way to like know that you have an offspring from the primordial forces of the universe? Like, shouldn't you feel like some cosmic sense of that or something? Like, to me, that could have been used to foreshadow some type of magic where Harry like felt like something was different or like something had come into the world that would affect him or something like that.
I don't
That's
think
a foreshadow.
that's the big deal with like having someone's blood is like they can just attack you at any time without you knowing.
This kid has his blood. He has his DNA.
Well, that's
Or
what I'm
she has
saying.
his DNA.
That's what I'm saying. Like if someone has your blood, like you don't even know, they could just attack you at any time. Like I think it's some, I don't know, like that. It's not the way it works. And
But
Well,
I mean,
Harry hasn't been able to figure out that Ebenezer was his grandfather until the end of this book.
well, that's true. That's true. But also, he wasn't really looking for his grandfather, and I guess
Well,
he
he
wasn't
wasn't-
looking for his
He wasn't looking for a daughter.
But okay, I'm not saying that. Like, I'm saying if you're looking for ways to foreshadow it, there's plenty of ways to do it, and that would have been a cool one. But it wasn't foreshadowed except for that one scene. And if you remember, at the very beginning of Dresden Files, sex was much more of a thing for Harry. So the fact that it happened, it was kind of in the same. It kind of got away from that as a series, but it was sex was always present back
But
then.
isn't the fact that Susan's been gone, like there's really no way that Harry could have known, so how could it have been for? I mean, I guess I kind of get what you're saying, but I feel like you're really nitpicking here.
No, you guys are the ones that's saying it's masterfully foreshadowed. I'm saying show me one other instance. Here's an example of how it could have been.
Personally, I'm not saying it's
I don't
massively
know if we're
foreshadowed.
saying it's massively foreshadowed. We're just saying you're saying it came out of nowhere. That it just
It did.
You know, no, we're so I think we're pushing it back against that. Like where no, they had a scene. They showed you when it happened, when the conception happened. That scene is in the series, so it's not out of nowhere.
I'm not arguing that it was impossible that it happened. I'm saying that if you take a look at everything up to changes, like you could take the fact that Harry has a child out of the series and nothing else would have changed, right? So like up until changes, this had no impact whatsoever on the series. It wasn't foreshadowed at all, and except for in one scene where technically it could have happened. It did happen. So all I'm saying is that for something to drive the plot so incredibly hard, for Harry to sacrifice the very core of who he is, not to be introduced at all for the past 11 books was the weakest part of the book for me, for sure.
I feel like it's not all that different from other Dresden books. It always kind of starts with your kicker, right? So in Turncoat, it was Morgan coming in and saying, you know, they're after me and I've been framed. And in other books, it's, you know, it's always some mystery that's not out of nowhere, but I don't know that it needs to be super well connected in order to work.
I think, but in other books, Harry's not sacrificing the core of who he is. In this book, he did.
Well, because he has because it's the motivation.
Because he had the motivation of a daughter, right? But all I'm saying is that motivation wasn't earned. You can't just hand somebody a daughter and expect that to carry your plot.
The thing where I think I really want to push back is it's well earned within the book. He goes like within the narrative of the book itself.
Immediately when he finds he has a daughter, he's like, I'm going to do anything to get my daughter back. It's a total like Taken situation, right? Like it wasn't earned at all. It was just, here's a daughter, she's taken. Now you're going to go all, Liam Neeson on these guys.
I feel like it's earned in the fact that Harry as a character has been set up over the past 11 books where we believe that Harry is a man of such moral fiber that he would do this if he had a daughter or if he had someone to do it for. And now that he does, it's totally believable that he's noble and selfless enough to go to those lengths.
Okay, so
Also,
I think that is true, but Harry talks a lot about the fact that he was an orphan, right? He talks a lot about that throughout the series. I like that, but he never makes comments like, he did in Changes, but before that, he never made comments like, if I had a child, it would be different. Or he never sets himself up in his own mind as a father, thinking about how he would be different as a father.
I guess he's never thought about that. I'm not a father, and I don't really very often think about what do we like to have kids because I don't have them.
Right, but if you're an orphan, that might be different, right? Like if you're an orphan and you would think about, oh, if like I don't know, you always kind of think about what you wish you would have and how you would provide that. I'm just saying another way it could have been foreshadowed. Like there's
I could see that, sure. I do feel like we're nitpicking a little bit though.
No, because that's the core of what the book is. That's the thing. That's why I'm like refusing to let it go. It's the core. It's the core motivation for changing the entire series. I mean, that's okay to nitpick.
All right, I think we'll have to leave this off to a Discord discussion at this point. So let us know what you think of this one. I think we've kind of heard both sides of the argument.
This has been reading the beginning of the book and being like, "Oh, I didn't like it," and then just
no, it's not. No. First of all, I also had this complaint about a series that relies on alliteration for its name. I don't want to spoil anything for it. It's also a series that we've reviewed in the past. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I had a complaint about that. I think that, and maybe it appeals to like my sensibilities as a father. Like the fact that you're using children as a blatant plot device kind of irks me, you know. So I don't know. It's not me deciding I just randomly didn't like it. It's a thing for me, I guess.
Don't mess with Ben's kids.
Yeah, I'm foreshadowing it right now. All right, I'll go Harry Dresden on you if you take my kids.
All right. So the plot. I mean, we said one thing in the plot thus far. We're gonna have to speed it up. So Harry meets up with Susan and her partner Martin. This is Martin's this dude from the Fellowship of St. Giles, and they've been working to kind of undermine the Red Court, and now they're back on the scene. So the first thing they do is they try to find some data in Harry's apartment, not his apartment, in his office. And this is an office that's actually been owned by the Red Court the whole time. They go in there, they fight some vampires, building explodes because it was wired, and they come out with some maybe helpful clues. But this is how it starts. And then Harry kind of goes into the part of the book that always happens in Dresden, where Harry gathers his forces. He talks to all his friends. He follows some leads. And the first place they go is to Edinburgh. And actually, Josh, Ben, and I, in our Turncoat review, we weren't sure. How do you say you've been to Scotland, right? Or Ireland?
I've been Ireland.
Is it Edinburgh?
Edinburgh.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We outed ourselves as like ignorant Americans because I think the first time I tried to say, I said like Edinburgh or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
almost as bad as Yosemite.
Yeah. Oh, Yosemite. Okay. So they go to Edinburgh, and Edinburgh is where, of course, the White Council is of wizards. And Harry's surprised there by Duchess Ortega, the very vampire who he knows has taken Maggie. She's there brokering a peace deal in the ongoing war with Christos. Christos is the new member of the senior council that was introduced in the previous book. That seemed real shady. Harry and Ebenezer both think he is Black Council. And Harry talks to several of the wizards, and they think, yeah, we're not really into this Red Court peace thing. Like, it doesn't seem like it's something. It seems shady, but also, Harry, sorry, we can't help you. You have too many of our own problems. So, compelling start.
Yeah, compelling start. Nice foreshadowing throughout the whole series for the Black Court. That was done very well.
For the Black Court?
Or sorry, yeah. Well, what's the
Black Council?
Black Council, Red Court, Black Council. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
this has been earned.
Right. So this has always been mysterious what the Black Council is trying to do. Now we kind of get some more clues here because Christos isn't confirmed Black Council, but man, he seems real shady, and this doesn't seem like something a wizard should be doing.
Yeah, for sure.
So they learn that there's some kind of ritual being planned. The Red Court is planning some ritual. Sounds real shady, and right away you're like, okay, the Red Court has my daughter, and also they're doing some kind of ritual. So it's like put two and two together, and you know this is going to be pretty bad. The FBI is also getting involved because Murphy tells Harry that the FBI is after him as a suspect in the building explosion. So Harry runs into the Never Never, he stashes Bob and the swords, and he retreats again because he's attacked right away, and then he's arrested by the FBI. And in this book, like, I'm still a little unsure why the FBI has to be a thing. I like that they're a part of it because it kind of grounds Harry in the Muggle world, so to speak. But at the same time, they never really do that much. They're always these small-time players.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of, I think it ups the stakes a little bit when you're reading about kind of disaster happening in the Muggle world, as you say. Like, you're like, oh, whatever. But like when you can kind of have a frame of reference, like, oh man, like this disaster is happening like in the FBI building, and like these are FBI people that are getting hurt right now. Like that, I think it anchors it, it grounds it a little bit more.
And we've seen this before in Full Moon. Pretty similar, at least this part of the plot, at least.
Yeah, and it's cool because with Full Moon, Harry references that a lot with Murphy throughout the series. He's always like, he kind of uses it as a reference point. He's like, oh, this could be as bad as the, oh, I forget what you call that creature. The
Luke Garou.
Yeah. This could be as bad as that. And then Murphy's like, oh man, we gotta go take him out, you know? So yeah.
Murphy's always good for it. She's always done. She's fearless.
Yeah, she is fearless, but she needs to make sure that she's fearless in the right direction, you know?
Yeah, so she wants in on it. She's going to get in on it, but at the same time, we're investigating a few more leads. So Harry goes with Susan and Martin to Nevada. They get some info on the upcoming ritual, which is happening somewhere in Central America. He gets a bunch of info from his White Council friends, and he learns that the council is entirely split. Christos is arresting people. Ebenezer says, you know, we really can't help you, Harry. I'm sorry. It seems like a war, like a schism is happening here in the White Council. And it's a little off screen. I kind of wish this was more on screen. Like, Harry should have been a part of this a little bit more, especially after everything that happens in Turncoat, where it's all set up. I don't know. Maybe I want this to happen in a different book where it's more the central part of the plot, where you really see the White Council turning on itself, rather than just hearing about it.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's also interesting because who you thought was like Harry's enemy, the Merlin, like actually turns out to kind of be Harry's friend in this one, and kind of gives him some help along the way. And so now it's like, yeah, Christos is like the new big bad of the White Council instead of the Merlin. And I guess the Merlin was just never really set up to be a bad guy, just like kind of an uncaring,
just a callous jerk, really.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you never thought that he was like, his motivations were evil, just he didn't care about the individual life as much as maybe you would hope.
So he can't do anything for the White Council. They can't do anything for him. And I think he calls Ivy as well, and she can't help him. This is the archive. And he might follow up on some other leads as well. But ultimately, he goes all the way down the ladder to Marcone. So Marcone is the person we're making a deal with in order to get help for Maggie.
I think Ivy actually told him to call Marcone. So Ivy was like, you need to ask the person you would want to ask the least or something.
Oh,
so
okay.
And he's like, oh, that's Marcone. Yeah. Ivy's there for Harry, you know. She's like, I don't want to alter the fabric of the universe, but you should call Marcone.
Okay. So he talks to Marcone, and Marcone connects him with the god Odin. This is Odin from Thor. I mean, we've seen Odin in a major motion picture made by Marvel. A little bit different. So he goes by Vadarung in the series, more so than Odin. So he tells Harry about the bloodline curse that's happening, that the Red Court is preparing. So this is where we finally get the info that, you know, once this ritual is carried out, whoever's blood, whoever is sacrificed, like their entire bloodline will just be wiped out immediately. And if Maggie is killed, then Harry will be killed. And we don't really know exactly why Harry is such a target. I mean, we do. We know the Red Court hates Harry, but there's more to it that we'll see later on involving Ebenezer. And Vadarung also tells him that it's happening at Chichen Itza. So this is a fun location that is probably not going to be part of our Dresden tour of Chicago, But if we get an international Dresden tour, we will extend it to Chichen Itza and Edinburgh.
And Edinburgh.
Oh, that's how we say it. Okay.
Listen, Chichen Itza, I actually went there last year. It's awesome. I also magically lost my phone there. So if we go on a tour, then we're going to have to look for that.
Well, you were probably just there about the same time, and all the magical energies conspired to destroy your phone.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, any like large amounts of real indigenous-looking people that look like they'd maybe been like thralls for the Red Court, or just vampires running around, or large blasts of magical energy. No signs of that type of thing.
I mean, look. If you look at, I mean, I will say that there were a lot of tourists that were running for cover from like a torrential downpour, which sometimes could look like a pack of vampires running for their lives. So, yeah.
That was probably it. Although, I mean, the book came out in 2010, so you probably missed it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Maybe there's still magical energy kind of swirling around there, though.
I'm sure there is. Something like that, there's got to be. I mean, aliens built it in the first place, right?
Yeah, sure.
So after getting this info, Harry fights a pair of vamps called the Ebes. They're like a husband-wife team of vampires that have some different powers, and Thomas and Mouse help him fight them, and he fights them off, but they destroy the beloved Blue Beetle and Harry's oak staff that he got from Ebenezer's oak tree. So, like, I really felt emotionally attached to the Blue Beetle, probably just because it represents who Harry is so much, and the fact that he's losing this piece of junk for some reason is so much more impactful than the actual monetary value of his loss.
Well, Stephen, you also experienced a loss much like this with your...
Yeah, I guess we're going there. Yes, my first vehicle, slightly better than the Blue Beetle. It was a F-150, white F-150 with an extended long bed. And one day after work, when I was in high school, I worked as a lifeguard. My truck exploded. There was a part, I think it was on the cruise control, that was supposed to have been recalled. And I was living in Arizona at the time. And the day it was so hot that a spark hit something. And it was, anyway, the moral of the story is, the gist of it is that the engine caught on fire and fire spread and it hit the gas tank and the whole thing exploded. I think I was working at the time, and one of the other guys was like, "Hey man, your truck's on fire." And I'm like, okay. And I go out to the guard room and I'm like watching my truck explode. With total dejected. Like, you could probably see the light go out of my eyes as I'm like, oh, there goes my summer. Crap.
I'll just say I had vested interest because I think it was that same summer we had like filled that truck bed up with water and like acted like it was a pool and drove around our little suburb. So that was like a highlight for me. I can't even imagine what you had with that truck. So I think that Blue Beetle probably hit you with an emotional punch. That was packing
that's a good connection. I didn't even thought of that. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, we went hard in that truck for sure. That was a big loss, but I think the Blue Beetle was more of a loss for Harry.
Yeah,
because it represented his personality so much.
Yeah, but he also got like a sweet ride to replace it soon thereafter.
Yeah, I think Larry gives him like a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, because it was like a Wraith, like the model was like a Wraith or whatever, and you're like, because of course it would be,
Right. So. Which kind of fits his new personality as Winter Knight as well, right? Yeah. He's no longer the people's man type wizard that drives around a beat up Blue Beetle. Now he's got, a nice blinged out car.
Sure, yeah, and he's still alive for this part, so he's got to live in luxury as he's chasing down his daughter.
So after the Blue Beetle is lost, Harry's about to lose another thing, which maybe represents him even more, which is his entire apartment building. So he returns home and still in Molotov cocktails, his apartment building. And Harry, I think, is inside at the time. He tries to get some other tenants out, helps them. He ends up like up on a ladder and the whole apartment explodes. He gets blown off the ladder and breaks his back. Luckily, Sonya's there to help him Sonia, the last remaining Knight of the Cross at the time, helps Harry, but he's paralyzed. He realizes pretty quickly. And so at this point, he's pretty much had everything that he knows taken away from him. I mean, he's still got his people, but all his stuff is gone, including his like physical being.
So I will say, one of the highlights of this for me was when he was trying to help get his landlady out, and his landlady was like deaf and like couldn't understand him, and so he would like say something, and then she would like not understand, and then like 5 seconds later say the same thing, and so he's like constantly rolling his eyes. So it's like an example of like Harry, like this very serious thing is happening, but like Butcher just like manages to add this like witty humor in that like makes you appreciate it. Also, I'm just gonna say the fact that like Harry fell off the ladder and broke his back, like he survived so much crap, and then like that's what like gets him at that point. That was kind of like, okay, like I don't know.
Yeah, but it's pretty reasonable. Harry is just human at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with that. I think it was done well. You know, it was kind of, this is the belly of the whale. Is that what you call it? What's the plot device when they're at the lowest low? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, I felt like this was more of the rising action. So it felt weird for him to like kind of go through this as you're expecting to like arrive at Chichen Itza in like an hour, you know, because at this point you already have like the deadline and he knows like where he needs to be and why he needs to be there. And so I don't know, like to me, it felt kind of like a weird, we're going to pause so that we can set this up even more as an epic battle.
I could see that. It's a little bit different plot structure here. I think we're pretty familiar to Harry's health bar going down and down and down as the series goes on, as books go on. So we're it's not crazy that Harry's getting beat up, but at this point it's like way more than we've seen before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And this is after okay. I guess I was going to go back to a scene before this that I liked. Or when does Murphy and Susan and Harry go and take on the goblins? Is that after this?
It's after.
Okay, my bad. I'm getting my timeline confused here.
So the paralysis thing for me, I thought it was okay. I thought that maybe it wasn't quite as shocking for Harry as it should have been. But maybe that was because he knew he had the winter night thing in his back pocket that would help him. And he just goes right to it. But at the same time, if this has happened to you, it should be like so shocking and emotionally just overwhelming that you're probably not going to be able to handle any situations well for the foreseeable future. But I guess it's okay because he becomes the Winter Knight right away and is able to then handle things in that way. I don't know. Disability stuff always kind of is interesting to me because it's real personal for me, but I thought it was okay. I'm like on the fence about this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It was, again, I felt like a way to progress the plot to where I felt like Butcher knew where he wanted to arrive in this book, and the way that he put things in place to get there wasn't always the cleanest for me. So
he takes Mab's bargain finally, and this one, I really don't think anyone can have an issue with how this played out, because the whole Winter Night bargain thing, that's in like almost every book. Mab is always, anytime we see Mab or Leah, they're always like, "Hey, Harry, be the Winter Knight," and Harry's like, "Yeah, I don't want to be the Winter Knight." And you know that eventually he's going to be the Winter Knight because of just how much it's been brought up, and finally it happens.
Yeah. So I guess I'm going to ask you guys, is it foreshadowed that there's going to be a Winter Knight baby in 11 books from now?
What do you mean a Winter Night baby?
Well, I
see.
As part of the ceremony that all of the Fae realm witnessed, there should be a clear indication that 11 books from now there's going to be a plot device that drives Harry forward.
Okay, yeah, I know you're. Yeah, okay. I don't think so. This is not just sexual. It's supposed to be like more of this magical joining of energies. And no, I don't think there's a Winter Night baby coming.
Okay.
So much, so much saltiness coming from Ben right now.
Yeah. Okay. Nice shade thrown there, Ben. Okay. Fair enough. But no, it's not going to happen. So the next thing that happens after Harry, picks up his mantle, he's now the Winter Knight. He's got all this power at his disposal. Him and Susan again go into the Never Never after a fight with vampires at the police station in order to escape. They go into the Never Never and they go into the Earl King's lair. This is the guy that we saw back in Deadbeat. And at the time, the Earl King was like, Harry, if I see you again, I'm going to kill you. And so, okay, I see you again. So we're going to throw down here. And here was a scene that I maybe didn't think needed to be in the book. Because did it advance the plot of this one all that much?
No, but I think that we wanted to see Harry and Susan kicking butt together at some point. And that could have happened at Chichen Itza, but the way that I think Butcher had planned it out in his mind wasn't going to happen that way. And so this was our time to see Harry and Susan thrown down with some goblins or some vampires during it. So,
okay. I mean, it was a fun fight, but I'm almost like there's so much other stuff going on. Do we need this?
Yeah,
maybe we don't.
I agree. Yep. I mean, it could be setting something up in the future. You know what I mean? Where Harry meets this guy again.
Yeah, I mean, Butcher does like to keep these guys around for at least every few books so he can bring them back if he wants to again in the future. That's fair.
I guess that's always your excuse. Whenever I bring up something like this that happens in the later books, you're always like, well, this just happened because it's going to circle back around in 5 books from now. And you're like, and so maybe we finally reached the point that hasn't circled back around for you guys. But for me, it felt just one of those things that's going to have an impact later down the line.
Yeah, that's fair for sure. I think now what I'm wanting to have happened is I wish instead of the Earl King fight, I wish we got the White Court fight. Not the White Court, the White Council fight.
The White Council. Yeah.
I wish Harry was on screen for that rather than this one.
Yeah.
If I had to choose.
Yeah.
Okay, so after this, in one of the funner scenes from the book, everyone gets outfitted. So Leah comes in and gives everyone some cool armor and gear and stuff, and then they make their plan. And the plan is funny because the whole time there's kind of this underlying Fellowship of the Ring joke that's going on as we're making this serious plan to go save the world. Harry admits to Ebenezer that Maggie's his child, and Ebenezer kind of strangely says, oh, okay, you've got to go after her. And previously Ebenezer has been like, no, don't do it, and now he is. And so this is foreshadowing to this relationship, ultimately, the fact that Ebenezer is Harry's grandfather. So do you guys remember this scene? I remember it fondly.
Yeah.
It's a fun one. I like when people get stuff. It's fun when people get stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's also funny because it's funny Leah being the fairy godmother, right? Like dressing Harry up like Cinderella, or whatever. So that's fun.
And I think she even says the spell will only last until X amount of time.
Right. And so it's kind of bring back the elements of fairy tale that you always hope to see because it makes you smile. And so my question for you, do you think Ebenezer was purely acting as in self-preservation at that point because he knew the bloodline curse would affect him, or do you think that it was go save your child because it's the right thing to do?
That's a tough question. Ebenezer is an interesting character, especially from recent books, Peace Talks especially. I don't know the answer. At the time, you want to think that he's a good guy and cares for his granddaughter. But you're right. He is the Blackstaff and is involved in a lot of questionable things. And I don't know. I don't know what my opinion is. Without doing spoilers, it's kind of hard to really think through. I don't know. What do you think, Josh?
I hadn't even thought. I thought it was just, he maybe had regrets for, what happened to his daughter and that he wasn't able to protect her. So that's what I thought at the time. But I think this is a good point of him more especially as we're seeing him in different lights.
I don't think we can answer this question until we ultimately see where Ebenezer goes towards the end of the series.
Wow, it seems like I hit on something big with that question.
Yeah, no, I like this one. This is a good one, Ben.
Yeah,
Okay.
you need to read. Yeah, this is. You
All right.
need to read.
Listen, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. All right.
Yeah.
Make it there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess moving on from potential spoilery thoughts from you guys. Yeah, so what do we... What, Steven?
If you had something.
I was going to say, what do we think about Murphy being Gimli because of the shortness and everybody's refusal to voice that?
Yeah, that was rough on Murphy. Come on. I mean, maybe that's a diss on Gimli. Gimli's cool.
Gimli is awesome, yeah. And who is Harry? I forget. Was Harry Sam? And they kind of made I don't know. I think they did make Harry Sam.
I think Harry was Sam. I want to say he was Sam. You're right.
And Butcher got to go on his like the hot take that everybody loves to have, that Sam was the hero of the series.
Sam was the real hero.
Yeah, so I think Harry ended up being Sam there.
Yeah, that's nice. I hadn't thought about that at the time. I like that too. There's a lot in this book that's really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Another fun moment was right after this, they go through the Never Never, and for whatever reason, probably just for comic reason, Leah has to turn them all into dogs, and then Mouse can talk with them now. And so we finally get Mouse as like more of an actual character that has a voice. And this is really fun. There's a line where I think Mouse, or someone asks Mouse, like, oh, how did you get connected with Harry? And Mouse says, oh, yeah, I won over Harry. As if like Mouse was the one who was doing was the real hero and not Harry.
I think that's kind of more, might be more telling than what it's. I don't think that's just for comedic effect.
Well, I think it was more saying that Mouse won the privilege of guarding Harry. Like, yeah. I think that Harry has kind of like it's alluding to the fact that Harry's probably more than who he seems to be.
Okay. How does that work though? Because so Harry gets Mouse. Oh, I don't remember which book. Towards one of the beginning of one of the earlier books, but Mouse, sneaks out of the box and hangs out with Harry for a while, long enough to, become a permanent fixture.
Well, maybe maybe all the dogs wanted to sneak out, and he had to win the ability to stay with Harry or something.
Maybe there's just some stuff going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. That could be a fun short story. Butcher writes a lot of short stories. That would be a fun one to see.
Yeah.
So we get to Chichen Itza and the fighting starts. Immediately, Harry uses some nice earth magic, which we don't see him use a whole lot. He uses like some gravitational stuff and also some nice combos of fire and ice magic that he can now wield with his winter night mantle. The vampires have a lot of guys in their force, and it's looking really bad. Harry talks with the Red King. The Red King is kind of comically short and doesn't all seem all that intimidating, but he is, in fact, like he's been the force behind everything that's gone down. Harry arranges this duel with Ariana, who's the vampire that took Maggie captive, and Harry wins the duel, but the Red King immediately reneges on his promise, and fighting then continues. And this is like a real long extended fight scene. Every character kind of has their moment. It's a really good one, though. These climactic scenes are always fun.
Yeah. I think I'll say a few things about this. I think Murphy was probably my favorite part of this scene, where she wields the sword and speaks some inspired words, and kind of starts slaying evil people. So I really like that. I thought that it was where Murphy could go in future books. And so I like that. I also, I thought that they made good use of Molly's gifts and kind of showed the power that she possesses and could wield.
Yeah, she did this kind of cool magic rave thing that happened.
Yeah, yeah. So, and yeah, I don't know. It kind of showed. Well, and this is kind of another point of the book overall. I think every character got to their max point in this scene, right? Like Harry was maxed out, Molly was maxed out, Murphy was maxed out. You know what I mean? Like they're like maximum power. So it's like, where do you take them after this? And so I feel like something big had to happen to kind of set them back a little.
Well, one thing you could do is change everything by eliminating Harry from the book and setting everyone back to square one with a new enemy that comes in and changes everything.
Oh, you could do that. Okay. All right. So I guess moving on, continuing the battle. I mean, Josh, what do you remember from this battle that kind of stuck with you all these years?
Yeah, I just think that it was really cool in the fighting in the jungle. Like you guys were saying, I really like Murphy getting the sword. That was like one of the more impactful moments for me. And going back to when Harry opened his third eye and saw Murphy.
Is that in this book or previous books? There was one where, he sees her as like a almost full archangel or something, like
as an angel,
total force of righteousness.
Yeah, we talked about this. We talked about it in one of our episodes, and I was like, I really wanted to talk about the moment of her wielding the sword, because that's what it made me think of. So that stuck with me a lot. And then just really how powerful this crew was. Like, this is kind of a crew of misfits, right? You got Harry, who's kind of like on the outs of wizardry. You get Molly, who was kind of a self-taught wizard, but is now actually being trained. You get Murphy, who's just, for all intents and purposes, a muggle. You have Mouse. You just have like this group of misfits, kind of like the Fellowship of the Ring, right? Which is why it's such a good metaphor. But coming together to like full on take one of the most powerful like forces of darkness that there is in the Red Court, and like hold their own against them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're holding their own until Ebenezer and the Grey Council arrive. The Grey Council is what Ebenezer has named his crew of internals that are trying to take out the Black Council. And like you were saying, Josh, the misfits are holding their own well. The adults, or like the fully trained wizards, are having some serious problems of their own, and they finally do come in and help. I think they take out like hundreds of vampires all at the same time, and we really see how powerful Ebenezer is. I mean, we've seen this before a little bit, like when he brought down the satellite on top of them, and we learn what the real purpose of the Bloodline Curse is. We learn that they're trying to kill Maggie because Ebenezer is Harry's grandfather, and this will kill Ebenezer, and the Red Court is really even more mad at Ebenezer than they are at Harry for a variety of reasons. So he's the target. This is a huge reveal. I mean, this is not one we can just brush aside. Ebenezer's been a big character in the series, so to think that he is blood related to Harry, that's going to change things.
Yeah, this was one that I thought was well earned. I thought it was one I didn't see coming, and I thought that it showed off. I don't think this series has set up Harry to be an unreliable narrator at all, but it has set him up to be an arrogant narrator, where he thinks that everything's all about him, right? Like, yeah. I think so. So the fact that we kind of are seeing the world through Harry's eyes limited our scope as an audience as well to seeing that, hey, possibly there's people outside you're like outside you that the Red Court could be interested in hurting,
Right. Typically, the story revolves around Harry. He's the one that all the action happens to, kind of like Harry Potter. We've made this comparison before. So it's interesting to think that, hey, there's actually someone who's a lot more powerful than you that these guys are actually mad at. It's not just you, Harry.
Yeah. And I mean, gosh, Harry knew that the Blackstaff had brought the satellite down. And I mean, he talks about it often. So like, why wouldn't he think that the Red Court could be mad about that? You know what I mean? He's like, oh, they're mad because the duel that I started with, what's his name, is the thing that led to that. But like
with Ortega, the Wrigley Fields duel.
Yeah, with Ortega. Yeah, like who cares about that duel? Like the thing is, like, who are you going to be mad at? The guy that dueled somebody based on an honor duel, or this person that brought down a satellite from this guy and wiped out an entire compound?
And I mean, even before that, because Harry was the one who originally started the whole war back in book 3, I want to say. So it was more than just the duel. But yeah, like more so than Harry, who is like 30-something years old right now. There was years and years of history going on here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So then the tables turn. Harry turns the turntables, as Michael Scott would say. And Martin helps here. He turns Susan into a full-on vampire, and everyone kind of realizes the situation here that if Harry was to kill Susan, then this would, as the youngest Red Court vampire, the newest vampire who's just barely turned, this would rebound against the entirety of the Red Court. And so he does so. Susan agrees. At this point, she makes a real noble sacrifice, and the entire Red Court is wiped out. So I think it might be a little risky for the Red Court to prepare such a powerful spell that has the potential to wipe them all out. Like, did they not think of this? I guess it's just arrogance on the vampire's part.
Yeah, I mean, look at you know that there's a glass cannon that's going to be built in, right? So, my question is, was Martin good or bad? Because
he was Boromir.
Well, okay, fine.
No, but seriously, right? Like that's
Well, did he? So, I mean, obviously, he double crossed somebody, right? But did he end up being good or bad? It went too fast for me to really keep track of his allegiances.
I think
changing.
His sole thing was not really to protect Susan. His sole thing was to bring the Red Court down. Like that's
was that. So that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah,
he was good. He was good in that sense.
And did Harry realize it when? So, because I guess to kind of zoom in on this scene, Harry says, "Susan, who told the Red Court about your daughter?" And then she realizes Martin did, and then she kills Martin in order to become, out of anger, thus becoming a Red Court vampire, thus being able, making Harry able to kill her. I don't know if Susan really did make the sacrifice. Susan was driven.
She at least tells Harry that she gives Harry her permission to kill her.
Well, after she's already become the Red Court vampire, right?
Right.
She's already kind of knows that her soul is lost at that point.
Right. So yeah, Martin manipulates her. I would say maybe the toughest thing to believe about this is Martin's level of foresight in setting this all up. Really, Martin is a master manipulator here.
Yeah, are we to assume that Martin foresaw this scene and maneuvered players until they all got here, and that Harry magically figured it out just in time? I figure if Martin really had set that up, that he would have done something to initiate the end game. You know what I mean? Instead of just waiting for Harry to do it. Yeah,
this is tough. I don't know if I have a great opinion, so we might have to throw this one over to Discord and get some opinions here.
Yeah.
When I was just reading it, though, I thought it worked. When I was just turning the pages and wrapped up in it, it made sense. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Martin,
right.
Double cross Susan, but he did so that he could take out the Red Court. It added up in my mind. I think, yeah, you're right. When you pick it apart, there might be some issues there.
But also, why did Jim Butcher need that to happen? He could have had the same thing happen without throwing in the Martin curveball. You know what I mean?
Susan just could have gone too far somehow.
Right. Susan could have gone too far, or maybe everything happened the same, only Martin was just a double crosser. You know what I mean? He just double crossed Susan. He always worked for the Red Court.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think maybe there's I assumed I had missed something with it, and so I was like, oh, I'll just ask Stephen.
Well, it has been years since we've read the book, so there might be something we're all missing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, let's throw this one over to Discord. If not, we're just gonna assume that, like Dumbledore, Martin was the one who had planned everything and behind the scenes was manipulating everything so that Harry, our wizard, would do what he was destined to do.
Okay, we'll stick with that for now.
All right, so we win. The day is won with, some minor losses. Susan died. Molly got shot. She'll be okay. It doesn't seem too bad.
let's focus on this a little bit more. I thought it was, I was like stunned when Harry actually killed Susan. I thought he was going to be able to pull something out where he, like, I don't know. It was shocking to me though.
Because Harry's character is always that he must protect the damsel in distress type women, and he gets so connected to them. And even though he's real mad at Susan, you figure they'll be able to make up somehow in the future.
This whole war was started because he didn't want, right? There's like some girls that were in the
it was actually Susan, right?
It's actually Susan. He was saving Susan.
Yeah. So he started this whole war to save Susan.
Yeah, so that's some nice symmetry that like it began and ended with Susan, you know, like. So
she's now the mother of his child. So there's a lot of reasons why killing her is a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
Also, let's just focus on the fact that like this girl, because what's her name? What's the daughter's name?
Maggie.
Yeah. Maggie knew that Susan was her mom, right? Because Susan would go visit her. And so like poor Maggie just witnessed her mother die, you know, like that's got to be traumatic.
Does she actually see this or not?
Well, she's like kind of pushed off the altar and huddled to the side. So
yeah,
maybe, but she was
there.
there.
This is addressed later.
Okay.
I guess I would assume. Well, here's why it bothered me, because it kind of shows like in the aftermath, it kind of shows Harry just kind of huddled, holding Maggie, kind of like rocking back and forth for an unknown amount of time. And I'm like, if I was Maggie, I'd be like, who the F is this guy? Like, he just killed my mom. Like, get me away from him. You know what I mean? So
a little bit, yeah.
It kind of took me out of the moment a little bit reading that. So, yeah.
Yeah, why is she okay with Harry?
I mean, because earlier Harry had said like, "Don't worry, honey, I'm going to get you out of this" or something, and that was like his only interaction with her. But it didn't say like, "Oh, and there's a spark of recognition in her eye" or something. Like maybe Susan had showed Maggie pictures of her dad, or you know, like there's ways that it could have been addressed that wasn't. I don't know. I guess I kind of like tacked it up to the haze of battle, but yeah, it was kind of weird for me.
I guess we'll say there's a lot of emotions.
Maybe this was Harry comforting himself.
Oh, so you're saying that there was no Maggie?
Like maybe it's just like, I don't know, a little girl, like somebody giving her a hug after all this, like even if it's just a random firefighter that's like hugging a girl after he rescues her from a building, like it's still providing some measure of comfort to the girl, but I think it's probably mostly for...
No, it was definitely for Harry, but I'm saying like Maggie would be freaking out still and trying to get away.
Maybe. I don't know. If she saw it, maybe.
Dang,
but yeah, I agree,
we
Josh.
might have to throw this one to Discord as well.
But I agree with you, Josh. It was a big moment for Harry to... And it was foreshadowed with the fact that Harry killed the previous Winter Knight that, you know, was suffering, had already lost his soul.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Harry kind of had primed himself to make that decision earlier in the book.
That's another, yeah, man, there's a lot of good connections. That's another one that I hadn't thought of till you said that.
Yeah. Like I said, I really like there's a lot of things I really liked about this book. So I kind of got a bad rap on Discord where I was arguing against it, but I liked a lot of parts of it. So
all right. So everyone takes off. The day is won. Back in Chicago, Harry's living in Thomas's boat, the water beetle. He's got nothing. Murphy, who is on the outs in her job as well because of some of the FBI drama, comes to him and they're about to hook up. So they're finally going to get together. And in the ultimate bout of misfortune, Harry is shot before he can finally get with Murphy.
Bang, bang.
And he falls into Lake Michigan and he is dying. I mean, maybe he's not dead by the time you read the last page, but he is dying.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's no reason to think that he will be saved from death.
Except for the fact that there's a 13th book to kind of break the fourth wall.
Well, yes, but there's no reason to assume that he will be rescued from this situation he is currently in, drowning and being shot in the waters of Lake Michigan.
Yeah. So I agree. I like that. I mean, so I immediately called Josh when I got done listening to this book, and I was like, obviously it's Kincaid that shot him. So that's my prediction right now, without knowing anything else about the series. So, but I mean, come on, he's shot from like, you know, he dies exactly how Kincaid said he was gonna kill him, you know. So I don't know. I felt like, so that's where I'm at right now.
So you think it's good foreshadowing?
Yeah, I mean, again, this killing was foreshadowed excellently. This killing, not killing. This Horcrux type killing.
Man, he's dead. He's totally dead.
I don't get it, man. You just don't want to admit that there's a big change.
Again, okay, whatever. Let's
All right. We already killed that one, so we're gonna move on to the final segment. Do we have any more worst of the best? I mean, we kind of already talked about things we really liked and some small things we didn't like about them. Was there anything else we haven't touched yet?
I think for the record, I'm just gonna say my worst of the best was the whole Maggie situation. So
really, that was your worst of the best?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, best. Yeah. So
I'm just
what about
kidding.
you, Steven? Was it the Goblin battle with the Earl King?
Yeah, it's between the Goblin battle, which I am settling on that I would have rather had the White Council battle from Harry's perspective. It's between that and just the whole paralysis thing. I feel like disability is not a thing that fantasy does well at all. Like, I really haven't seen many good examples of it at all, other than First Law with Galacta. So this was something I felt like maybe could have been explored a little bit more, but was like so quick. It's like being paralyzed is not a small thing in your life. But at the same time, I mean, there's so much else going on, and it really propelled him to take up the Winter Mantle. So it was good in that regard. I'm like okay with it.
Okay. All right. Josh, you got any kind of good worst of the best?
I don't know. I think I would have liked to see Murphy take on a little bit more roles, like a bigger role at the ending of this book, with her like wielding the sword and everything.
Yeah,
it's interesting because she draws the sword and she uses it, but in small favor. She barely drew it when they're fighting the Denarians. And then afterwards, she tells Harry that she doesn't want to be a Knight of the Cross. But it's like hinted at so strongly that she will be. So that's tough.
You know what?
Where do we go with that?
This is kind of like exactly with Harry and the being Winter's Knight, where it's like she doesn't want it. Harry didn't want Winter's Knight, but like it's kind of, you can tell that like the universe is like, nope, but this is like your destiny. Like this is what's going to happen. Yeah, so I don't know. I think I agree with you, Josh. Like with the whole Murphy and sword thing, it's kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, you know, throughout the whole process. So, yeah.
All right, so that's a wrap. The long anticipated review of Changes. We're through 12 Dresden books now. Ben, I know you've already finished Ghost Story, so we only have 3 more reviews that we have to get out, and Battleground comes out in like a month. I don't remember the exact date. It's in September. It's going to be close. It's going to be tight, guys. We're going to try to get them all in.
I'm just going to keep listening and I'm going to finish it by the time Battleground comes out.
Okay.
Because you guys already reviewed Peace Talks, right? So how many books
we already reviewed Peace Talks. We just have 3 more that we need to review. So I hope all 3 of us can get on a Battleground review really soon after it comes out.
September 29th. So we got a month
and a half.
Oh, the end of September. I don't think I've ever been relieved. I've never been happy to see a book date, a release date, then pushed back a little bit.
Okay, we got this. This is awesome though. I mean, I'm liking Dresden more and more right now. So yeah, it is crazy. Like to Josh's point, to like see how far it's come from book 1. You know, it's really cool.
And besides this book, like there's nothing huge that changes in any book. It's more just little things
incremental. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's not to say we're not saying that nothing else is going to change between now and Peace Talks. There's some more stuff that's coming down the line.
Yeah. But just between now and the book 1, between changes in book 1.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, thank you for listening. We are excited to get into the remainder of the Dresden books. If you like Phantology, check us out at social media at Phantology Books, and please get on Discord and let us know how we can improve and what comments you have on this book. I think we're looking forward to some walls of text from some of our Discord members about what we did well and what we didn't. But we're passionate fans, but definitely not experts. So thanks for supporting. If you'd like to support Phantology Books more, you can check us out on Patreon as well. We have some tiers there with some exclusive content, and please interact with us as much as you would like to. So Ben, Josh, thanks guys, and we will see you guys next time.
Yeah.